This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome back to another episode of the Hockeytown West podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
And I'm Travis.
And we have a special episode for y'all today. Not only is it a Toledo Walleye weekly update where we update you on everything Toledo Walleye hockey. This is not a Grand Rapids Griffins episode, even though usually a few of the Griffins end up tiptoeing into the conversation. But we are bringing you an interview with a special guy, honestly. When you think about ECHL, he's the only full-time ECHL goalie coach. He's the Toledo Walleyes goalie coach. They're the only team that have one. We're sitting down with Austin Keiser to talk all things goalie. And this conversation, not only if you're a Walleye fan or a Griffins fan or a Red Wings fan, if you're a goalie nerd, you're going to enjoy this conversation. So I'm not even going to waste time. I'm not even going to say, how are you doing, Travis? Because this is our third recording of the day. I know how you're doing. You're doing great. We're going to throw it right over to Ace here and let you guys hear, honestly, one of the, I don't want to say the most fun interviews we've had because there's a lot of fun ones out there, but this one's up there because he was such a beauty. So we'll toss it over to Ace here. When we come back, we'll recap it. All right, everyone. Well, welcome back. We have a special guest for you guys today, and a different one, something we haven't had the opportunity to talk to yet. Joining us today is a fairly new face in the Toledo Walleye organization in a pretty unique situation, being the only full-time goalie coach in the ECHL. He's also the team's video coach. Thank you for joining the Hockeytown West podcast. Austin Keiser, man, welcome to the show. Thank you. How you doing today?
No, I appreciate it, guys. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you guys. And yeah, like I said, I'm doing great. Team's doing well, so I'm doing well. So that's always a positive.
I love it. Now, when we were down there at practice, the team shared with us your nickname Ace, and we got to ask right off the bat, where'd that come from?
Yeah, so the head coach, Pat Mickish, he's a big guy on building culture, and everybody in our staff pretty much has a nickname. And he looked at me in training camp in Traverse City with Detroit Red Wings. He's like, I gotta give you a nickname. I just don't know what it's going to be. And my hair is a little bit crazy. That's why I'm wearing this hat right now. But he goes, you look like Ace Ventura. And so he's like, you're Ace. And then he said it one time in the locker room, and every single coach in the Detroit organization calls me Ace now. So I am officially Ace. Yeah, I don't mind it. It's kind of a cool nickname.
It is a good one. I like it.
I really wondered if it came from you being a good card player or something.
I wish it was a cooler reason, but yeah, I'll take it.
Oh, that's great. We'll get to Toledo, but can you kind of give us a trip down memory lane as you as a player and you as a coach, and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, it's been an absolute roller coaster for me. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Nobody in my family played hockey, cared about hockey, from my mom's side to my dad's side. And my dad took me to an Atlanta Knights game when they were back in the ECHL. And I was 9 years old, and I was really into Power Rangers. I was really into the TV show, The Power Rangers. And I remember seeing the goalie in live action. I said, I want to do that. And so my dad was like, no, you don't. No, there's no way. So he bought me cheap gear, and I went out there in roller hockey because in Atlanta, roller hockey was big. And I did pretty well. And my dad's like, okay. And so he said to me, I'm 10 years old at this point. He goes, if you want to do something with hockey, you got to go play ice hockey. So I did my first ever ice hockey camp, and I was the only goalie that had to hold on to the boards. So I couldn't skate. I couldn't do anything. I was so embarrassed. My grandmother dropped me off at the rink, and I got back in the car crying, and I was like, I'm done. I never want to do that again. And my grandmother's like, we paid way too much money for this. You're sticking it out. So I stuck it out. Lifelong friend Dave Caruso played at Ohio State, first ever Division I born goalie from Georgia. Took me under his wing, took me the whole camp, and we are still to this day best friends, played in the ECHL as well for Atlanta. And Al Blevins was my goalie coach in Atlanta, and he really just kept pushing me, and we had a good work ethic together and got me to the college ranks. And I played Division III college hockey at SUNY Potsdam in upstate New York. And then my last year, I transferred to Western New England, my senior year. There I played underneath Coach Heffernan, played really, really well, earned my spot in the Atlanta Gladiators organization, and got to go home and play just a little bit of ECHL hockey. And for me, that was a dream come true. I really take pride in Georgia hockey because I know how hard it is to make it out of there. After that, Dan Vladder got sent down at 18. As soon as he stepped on the ice, I was like, okay, I get it. this guy's going to be pretty special. Like he's a good goalie. The head coach is like, hey, we appreciate. I go, hey, thank you for the opportunity. I didn't finish out college, so Hef gave me a call. He said, why don't you come back and be my assistant coach, and we'll pay for the rest of your college. So I knew I wanted to be a coach as soon as I was done playing. Jumped right into college hockey. Was the assistant coach for him for 2 years. Crazy story, though. I was actually recruiting in Florida, and it was a tournament for the college, and Atlanta came to play Florida Everblades. So I was like, I got to go say hi to the guys. I'm saying hi to the guys, whatever. And the next day, the guy that was running the tournament tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, did you hear what happened? And I was like, no. He said, Matt Ginn, the starting goalie for Atlanta, broke his leg last night in the game. Broke his leg. And not selfishly, but like I texted the head coach and said, do you need a goalie? And he's like, get your stuff. You're coming back. So I came out of retirement, went back to Atlanta, got to back up a couple games. They did like a theme night for me. It was pretty cool. My family came and stuff. So I got to go back to the ECHL for a little bit. Really cool story. And then I got into college hockey. I was the first ever Trine University in Indiana. I started that program with Alex Todd. I was the first ever assistant coach there. And then I kind of was like, I want to kind of get into youth hockey and chase that route. So I was in Milwaukee with the Junior Admirals, which opened up a lot of doors for me in the pro level because there wasn't many goalie coaches in Milwaukee. So I became good friends with Troy Grosnick. He was the starting goalie in the American League. Me and him are still good friends to this day. He opened up a lot of doors. They're affiliated with Nashville. Nashville opened up a goalie director position. So I did that. I moved down there for 4 years, closer to home. Sent on 4 goalies in 4 years, Division I. And then I get a phone call. I'm literally like at my cabin this summer with my family, and Phil Ozair calls me from Detroit and says, hey, I got this thing. We've never done it before. I said, listen, I'm used to it. So they opened up the door here, and now here I am as the goalie coach and video coach for the Toledo Walleye and the East Coast League full time. So it's been kind of a really cool journey. I know I've just been rambling, but it's been a real, like, a lot, especially coming from Atlanta. It's not the easiest route. So yeah, like I said, I take pride in those kids. I take pride in the kids from the South, and yeah, I just want to kind of build that name for them. And now I'm here. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. Being from Atlanta, what was it like dressing up for the Gladiators?
Oh, I'm not going to lie to you. That was like my NHL debut. It really was. Like as a kid, like I know Derek Nesbitt really well. I was a volunteer coach for him last year as a volunteer goalie coach. Nezzy was like a big brother to me. So he taught me a lot, and I got to hang out with those guys when I was at a young age and learn kind of what they do. And just to put on the jersey for the first time, I still have pictures on my phone. Like it was just like surreal for me. And that was like a big step for me. And just seeing my parents' face too. Like we put in a lot of time, effort, and money. And that was a pretty big moment for me for sure.
That's awesome. It's cool that you know Troy Grosnick. You know, as much to be on the Grand Rapids side, frustrated with him for a few years there. He's an incredible goaltender, but always seemed like one of the nicest guys.
He is unbelievable, and I have so many stories about Troy Grosnick. I can share a couple. One of them that I'll never forget, and I tell this story all the time, especially to the kids. I tell kids this all the time, is have confidence in yourself, and Troy oozes confidence in himself. And there's a moment where he was the third string goalie in COVID for the LA Kings, and we used to FaceTime almost every night. And one night he not being malicious, not being mean, he just kind of looked at me and goes, what do you think you could ever beat me at in life? I was like, whoa. And he's like, I'm a better goalie. I'm financially better. I'm a better golfer. And he just went down this list. And I was like, all right, Troy, okay. I said, I can beat you at coaching. I'm a way better coach than you are. And it kind of hit me though, like, he wasn't being mean. He wasn't being malicious. He had the mindset of, I know I'm good. I have always been good. Even when he got cut from every single team to make it to where he has been, he always had that confidence in himself. And that's something I think at the pro level is so, so important. You have to have that. It's not false confidence. It's just like, I know I can do this and I'm going to do it. And that's what Troy brings every single day. He's an unbelievable athlete and unbelievable friend. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, back to Atlanta, though. So the ECHL obviously works down there. But why, in your opinion, why do you think the NHL didn't?
I'll be flat out with you. It's location. The location of downtown Atlanta, it's just too populated. It doesn't work. And I'll tell a quick story, too. I have a ton of stories, but I'll tell a quick one. Me and my dad had season tickets to the Thrashers since the day they started because he knew I loved hockey. And we drive down to as much as we could. And my dad took a wrong turn in downtown Atlanta, and a guy came out of his house and said, "Oh, where are you guys trying to go?" We said, "We're going to the Thrasher game." I'll never forget this. And the guy pulls a gun out, and he's like, "I want those tickets. I want the cash inside your drawer right there." My dad pushed my head down and threw the car in reverse. And I mean, to this day, like, I can remember what the guy looks like, everything. And it was just a situation of like, we are diehard hockey fans. Like, Atlanta is not a hockey town per se. And to go through that, like, to risk your life to go to a game, I think is very difficult. And I think if they put it in the right location, like the Braves did, I think it just will skyrocket.
Wow, that's wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of like talk with expansion. Do you think they'll try it the third time, and do you think that'll be the charm?
I think, like, I know the people in plans for it are the right people. They're already starting to build the rinks and stuff in the right locations. I think they will give it a shot. And I do really believe that Atlanta could be a very good hockey town. I really do. I think the youth hockey program there, I was helping out with that while I was coaching the Gladiators. It's really grown. Like, the kids are really into it, and it'll only grow if an NHL team gets there and does the right things. And if they do it correctly, I truly believe Atlanta could be a hockey town.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like ownership was the big, like, part of the big problem the last go around. But like, do you hope it's the Thrashers if they bring it back? I mean, that brand was so good.
Do you know what the Thrashers, like, do you know what it is?
I just know it's supposed to be like a bird, isn't it? Like,
It's Georgia's state bird. Not many people know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's Georgia's state bird, and like, nobody really knew that and stuff. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, right? Like, so I would love to see the Thrashers. I don't think they'll do that in that per se. Maybe superstitions and all that stuff because it failed, but I don't know. I'd love to see the Thrasher logo come back. I know Atlanta Gladiators do a jersey. Like, I think you have one behind you there, and I think it's the coolest, like, theme night. Like, it's so, like, it's a throwback theme night. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, like, what did you think about that whole Thrashers theme night they did down there?
I love it. I was like, give me a jersey. I told the goalie, because I was like, Gus and I are good friends. I said, just grab me some swag. Like, I love the Thrasher swag. Every time I wear it and stuff, people are like, "Oh my gosh!" And like, it's awesome. So like, yeah, I don't know if they would go back to it, but it's pretty. When I see the logo, I get a smile on my face. A lot of memories with that logo.
I think the biggest thing about it is like, because they do like they go all out, and the whole jersey's stitched, the logo stitched. It's not like some of the ones that Toledo does, to where it's like either fully sublimated or stitched on the outside.
Yeah,
like, they put a lot of money into that night.
100%, and they do well too. Like, the fan base comes out for it, which I think is really, really cool too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's we're gonna transition to Toledo. Like, what were your first thoughts of the city and the fan base?
I took the job. I made a lot of phone calls to people that I trust, and I said, "Hey, I had other job offers as well." And I said, Toledo's really like sparking my interest. And Jeff Pyle, he's with Atlanta. He was like, "Take it." He's like, "Toledo does it right. Like, take it." As soon as he said that, I trust in Jeff. I really didn't do too much research on the city and stuff. I never really do when I take a job. I focus mainly on the hockey, and it just looked like a good position. And I've known Phil Ozair for years. And I trust Phil. And then people are like, "You're not going to believe it." And I'm like, okay. And then the first, when I was on the bench introducing myself, and I got chills. I was like, this is like playoff NHL hockey every night. Like, it's insane. I had no idea. And the fan base and just being around town, I'm like, I would say, "Hey, I work for Toledo, like the Walleye." They're like, "Oh my gosh. I don't know if I bought a drink in town yet because of it." I'm like, I got to stop saying that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's next to none. And it's nothing that I can even explain to my buddies and friends. I'm like, you just got to come see it. Like, it's incredible. So the fan base is insane. I can't say nothing but good things about our team and the organization. Like, they handle it the right way. Like, they really do. Anything we need, if we come up with a silly thing in our head that we think the players will like, ownership is like, no question, we're getting it done. And I've never been around an organization like that.
Yeah, it's the right way to do it for sure. And when we were down there, just seeing behind the scenes, what they have at their disposal, what the players have, I was blown away. I mean, I've been in the Griffins locker room a few times, and I looked at Travis. I'm like, this is nicer. He's looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, this is nicer. The whole sauna setup and everything. We don't even have that up here. It's wild. But the city overall as a whole, it's a sports town. It's a massive sports market, honestly. It's an underrated sports market. What are your thoughts on just the city itself up there?
It reminds me a lot of Milwaukee. I think it's a very blue-collar town. I think people work really hard here, and I think that actually adds to the atmosphere. Like they're spending money. They want to come see us play. They want to come see us play hard. And we have a mentality right now in the locker room that it's blue-collar hockey for us. And if you notice on our jerseys, I think most of them, all of them that are not specialty jerseys, have a blue collar. And that's kind of the mentality that we want to have every single day in and day out. We do it for the town. We do it for the city. And because those people expect us to work hard. So like, that's, I think, the coolest mentality ever. And like I said, like, just there's so many good little spots that you don't like, like you initially look at the city, you're like, oh, there's not much here. There is a ton. There's a ton here to do. And like, I think it's a really cool sports town. It reminds me a lot of Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a very blue-collar sports town as well.
Oh, yeah, that's about the impression I got my first time down there. I think my second trip down, I had the conversation with the girlfriend. I was like, can we move there? I like this. I like the city.
I'll say this, financially, I'm doing a lot better than Nashville. Nashville's one of my favorite places in the world. I will be going back there every summer. I love that place, but let me tell you, it's expensive. Like you pay for what you get for sure.
Oh, for sure. So what's it been like working with Jan Bednar and Alexander and Gylander so far this season for you?
I couldn't ask for like better group of guys. They're all different in their own personalities. They're goalies, right? So like I've always had a mentality. I started coaching when I was 15, which is crazy to think about. Goalies like full time, like in the summers and stuff. I didn't want to work on cars. That's what my dad did. So I was like, I better find something I'm pretty good at. So I started coaching, and my mentality is always don't coach goalies, coach the human being. And a lot of the time, I'm more of a mentor than I am a coach. My aspect is to make sure like they're in a good headspace, but they're getting what they need. And I couldn't, like I said, ask for a better group of guys. Today, we jumped on the ice at Tamo, our practice rink, and it was the first time that I've had all three of them together. And they do like a little hand hug, like with their gloves. And it's like they call it goalie union, and like they're union workers. And like they have this great niche. They feed off each other. We were making fun of Bedsy today off the last goalie let in, the tough one from the blue line. Like, and it's just like it's a very good environment that we're building. But like I said, I think that every single one of them have the talent to move on to the next level, and it's my job to make sure like nothing gets in the way of that, and that does happen.
Yeah, it was weird watching that game. 2 bouncers went in that night, and like that kind of actually transitions good into what I was going to ask you. Like, what's your message to a goalie when they kind of let in a goal like that?
You know what? At the pro level, they get it. As soon as it happened so quickly, I thought Bedsy played unbelievable that game. It was very like we were tired on the road. We needed good goaltending. He gave it to us. And unfortunately, they get a bad bounce with 5 minutes left in the teddy bear toss, right? So after the game, he gets the pail for best player. The coach gives it to him. And everybody does like the fist bumps. We're all pumped. And I walk up to Bedsy, and he looks at me and goes, "What was that?" And I said, "I know what I'm going to be working on Monday with you with." And like we have that connection of like, it's a sport. Stuff's going to happen. It's how you like deal with it. And his mindset, he's very intense. I will say that. Like Bedsy is very, very intense guy. But we have this relationship of like, he knows that I know that was bad. He knows that it was bad. Let's make light of it. Let's work on it and make sure it doesn't happen in the future. Right. But like, we have that mindset of like, yeah, we're not going to ignore it. We're not going to make it a bigger deal than it was. Like he played unbelievable. Stuff happens in hockey and stuff happens in sports. It's how we deal with it. And I think we deal with it in kind of a humor way. Hopefully, like, it doesn't happen again.
I feel like what would be fun to, like, you know, when you give up a goal like that, you see the puck can bounce. Like, when a puck bounces like that, it can do whatever it wants, really. But, like, that, like, tennis ball thing, but it's got, like, the little bouncer, like, the little round things. Like, just, like, throw it in the air and have them, like, react, because that thing could go anywhere. Yeah, I feel like that'd been, like, hey, let's just play around with this and we'll see.
the funny thing today, so we do our goalie session in the morning, and I'm skating over to the bench to like get ready for the drills, and one of the players go, "Hey, Bedsy," and he flips the puck from the blue line, and Bedsy comes out full go and like stops, and the whole ice starts cheering. Like they're like, "Yeah, like there it is!" Like so, like again, like we're a team, and we know like stuff's gonna happen to everybody, and we got to make light of it. And they did it in the right way, in my opinion. But yeah, we're gonna do some drills for sure with bounce and stuff, 100%.
You have situations a lot so far this season, like with Gylander, for example. You know, he's getting sent back and forth, left and right, and you know, in some of those situations, we've seen him play on a day where he's at least on paper he's assigned. I don't know what the travel looks like and all that fun stuff, but how do you prepare a goalie that's kind of bouncing back and forth like that?
Care. I really think care is a huge factor. So Carter gets called up. I make sure to like give him a hug, tell him like, you know, this is an opportunity that you're only going to get once in your life. Run with it. Enjoy every single moment, even when it sucks, because I would die to be in your shoes right now. A lot of people would die to be in your shoes right now. And having that care factor of like, I think he knows like, oh, wow, like this guy's pumped for me. Like one of my coaches is like really excited for me. And like, it's never easy. It's never going to be easy. You're not paid to make it easy. So having that care factor, having that somebody that's there with him day in and day out. And then the cool thing too is Detroit, this is smart. Phil, I mean, so it's Alex Westland in Detroit, Rope, Constantine, and Grand Rapids, and then me. We are a close-knit group. Like, we call ourselves G Unit, which I think is the coolest thing in the world. But we call ourselves G Unit. And so when Carter gets sent up, I'm immediately texting Rope, like, how is he? How's the things? So we're literally talking every single day. And we're making sure we're giving these athletes exactly what they need that other organizations don't have for development. But that's an unbelievable question because it's a grind. It's tough and it sucks at times, but Carter has the attitude of like, I love this. Like, this is the funniest thing. We're in Iowa. Carter gets sent down. So he flies to us in Iowa. We practice the next day. After practice, Pat comes in. He's like, Carter, you're going back up. I was like, thanks for seeing the rink. Like, thanks for coming. Hey, I said, you need to get a good goalie session in before you got sent up to the American League. And he loved it. He's like, oh my gosh. Like, I just wanted to see you, Coach Ace. Like, this was like, that's just been great. Like, it's seriously that quick of a turnaround. But like, just having that mindset of like, this is once in a lifetime. You better run with it. You better enjoy every single aspect of it.
Yeah, and he seems to have a great attitude, especially for a goaltender that, like, if you think about Detroit's goalies, everyone talks Kosa and Augustine, and then Gylander's kind of come in here and really made a name for himself and be like, hey, guys, don't forget me. And I think he takes it on as a challenge.
He is so competitive, but he's also, like, such a good human being. Like, I like just having conversations with him, like, not even hockey related. I knew his coach at Colgate, and as soon as I took this job, he's like, you're going to love him. And he has been nothing but great. We're going to dinner this week as a group, as a goalie unit, or a goalie union, I should say. So I'm taking them all out to dinner and stuff. But I like I said, I enjoy being around those guys, not on the ice, but off the ice. And like I think that's a good relationship to build as a goalie coach. I think it's important because we're going to go through ups and downs. We got to be on the same page, and it's almost like a family. So it's been pretty cool. But Carter, he's a competitor. He's got the build. He's got the right mindset. Like there's some pretty dangerous stuff with that kid.
I love that. And then for you being the goalie coach, you obviously have to have some good shooters to practice with these guys. And you have probably one of the best shots in the ECHL with Brendan Hawkins shooting on these guys. What's that like for you to work with that guy every day?
He's unbelievable. He is like a little brother to me. And I can't wait for him to hear that. But no, he's a pro day in and day out. He's done it for such a long time. He's been around the different programs. He's seen how things work. He is so involved with our goalies. It's crazy. And we put a list on the board in the morning of like who's going out to shoot. He goes, I don't need to put my number. You know I'm going to be there. Like anything I need from that guy, and his shot alone is so good for the goalies. Like today, for instance, I do a drill and Hawk's set up at the top of the circles, and Bedsy's last rep, he knows he's going glove side, windmill glove save, split glove save. Boys are going crazy. Hawk looks at me, goes, Bedsy did this, bar down. Like, next one, bar down. Carter looks at me, he's like, what the? I'm like, thank Bedsy for that. So, like, he's an incredible talent. He's an incredible human being and an unbelievable person just to be around.
I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah. He might get a message after this from me asking about that.
Yeah. He showed me what he said about me, so I have to say nice things about him.
Oh, geez. Take us into like goaltending development. Like, what's your day-to-day look like with these guys?
So what I realized, like, it's not much different from AAA youth hockey. Like what I was doing, like typically I get 15 minutes in the morning with the goalies. And typically I come up with the drills, but there would be days where I really want to throw them off and be like, what do you want to work on? What do you think we should focus on? Like, what do you think about your game? Like, I really like to see how they're really thinking that day. And some days they're just like, Coach, you come up with something. Some days they're really like, I need an RVH post work. I need to work on puck play. Like, they think of the mentality like of youth hockey. If you ask a kid, what do you want to work on? They'll stare at you like you have 10 heads. Like you have to be on your toes. You have to be ready for drills. So I have a million drills that I know worked in the past and stuff like that. But yeah, we typically get 15 minutes in the morning. We go through our warm up. Then we do a couple of drills. I say, how you guys feeling? And it's typically great. Let's have a great practice. I watch the whole practice. If I notice something, I'll step in. I'll be like, hey, you're off on your blocker side. Like, take a step to your blocker, whatever it is. But I learned from the best was Jared Wayman. He's in Tampa Bay. I worked for him for 8 years at Pro Crease, and he taught me a lot about how to be a pro, how to go about it, like what they're going through on a daily basis. They don't want a guy coming in 24/7. Hey, you need to do this. You have to fix this. If you keep doing that, it loses the message, and also that just gets annoying because I played the position. I get it. But yeah, it's typically like I'm there, and Bedsy is really good at it. Bedsy will come up to me and be like, what'd you think? Bedsy will be like, I think I was off on this. What do you think? And so we'll have that conversation. So like again, it's the person. I'm trying to coach the person, not the goalie. So like that's the big thing for me, but that's typically how the development works so far right now.
And then like obviously if I feel like you have two paths, well now they're kind of merging together, but like college versus junior, like with a goaltender, what's your big difference? Which one do you think is there a better option?
For pro development?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Like, especially with everything changing, I think junior hockey is going to be all college hockey. Like, why not? I think the kids that can play major junior are like getting the itch. Like, I've always wanted to go to college.
Right.
So I think college hockey development, I think college hockey is going to be super, super competitive and super strong in the next 4 years. I don't see why as a goalie you would want to not go play college hockey, right? I think that more colleges have fourth assistants now that are goalie coaches, which I think is so important at the Division I level. I couldn't believe that it didn't exist before. And now you're going to see those development of like the big names coming out of major junior going to play for like the Penn States, Arizona States, like the dream schools that they never thought they could do. Now they can do it.
Now we're starting to see a lot of young goaltending prospects start their pro careers in the ECHL, which is something that's relatively new. I mean, at least for our perspective, looking at Sebastian Costa starting his in Toledo, and you're starting to see more and more guys do that. Why do you think that trend is picking up steam?
Why not? That's my question. Like why not? I don't know why it took this long to figure this out, but why not? Especially if you're a young goalie, and especially if they start hiring full-time goalie coaches and you have a pipeline, like it makes the most sense. You know where your path is at that point, right? Contracts and everything get thrown in the mix every year, but you're staying in North America. You're playing against, great players, and now you're getting the development that you need, and now you can see the pipeline of what's going on. Costa's a great example, right? Like Costa's stuck with the process. He owns that he loves Toledo. He has I don't know if you noticed on his Grand Rapids mask, he has a walleye painted on the back, and he came up to me in Traverse City and goes, look what I got on the back of my helmet. Like he owned that process. Like I'm proud that I played here. I'm proud that I developed here. And like, if I think more young goalies have that mindset, why not? I think it's a no-brainer to do it.
I love that.
Now, like I remember, I forget if it was in an article or like a video I watched, but like they talked about how like if you put ECHL, AHL, and NHL goalies on the ice, you can't really, like if you just put random jerseys on them, you wouldn't know who's who until they took their helmets off. What's the difference? Like, what is that difference like?
You guys are crushing the question. These are unbelievable questions. But yes, the biggest difference to me is mindset and the way that you can sustain yourself on and off the ice. Like Talbot, for instance, has made a career because he's so focused and he's so mentally strong. And he's one of the hardest working guys in the gym, right? There's little aspects like that for every guy. This sport is so grueling. The position is so grueling. The schedule is so grueling. And there's guys, like I said, with Troy Grosnick that just have a different mindset, different outlook that pushes them to that next level. And then once that happens, consistency. How consistent can you be on a day-to-day basis? Alex Lyon's super consistent. He practices the same way. He has his same routine. He trusts himself. He's confident in himself. Like at a young age, you start to go, oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. And that starts creeping in. Little things like that will destroy your career. You got to trust yourself. You got to trust the process. And I think that the NHL goalies are the 1%, right? Like they're so good at knowing themselves, better than anybody in the world. So like that's what I think makes the biggest difference from ECHL, AHL, and NHL. They're all good. They all got talent. They wouldn't be here if they didn't. It's how your mindset is and how you like I'll bring up Fleury, for instance. Like, should Fleury be as, on a team as old as he is? He's made a career off of being a locker room guy. Everybody wants to be around him. And that's from like day one. People loved him. Like Sidney Crosby loves him. Everybody loves him. So like, he's built a career off of, I know my niche. I know my skill set. I know that I'm going to make people happy. And he's furthered his career that way. Of course, he's talented. Of course, he's got all that skill set, but it's little things like that keep you in the league.
What do you think is the biggest thing that helps the guys move up the ranks? Like, what's the biggest thing they need to be able to move up those ranks? Is it just that consistency?
I think it is consistency. I think that at the higher levels, they don't have time to be like, oh, maybe he has something. They want to see it. And I think they really need to see it because there's other aspects out there, right? Like you can trade, you can sign, you can do all that kind of stuff. So it's got to be the consistency quickly. Like you got to show that you can do it at a high rate and then just be consistent with it.
You're starting to see the average height of a goaltender be like the height of a tree at this point. Like, but then you see guys like Saros and Dustin Wolf. Like, do you think there's still a place for shorter goaltenders?
I'm 5'11" on a good hair day, so I'm going to say 100% there is. I got the opportunity to work with Saros in Nashville, which was one of the coolest experiences ever. And nobody skates like Saros. Like there's no question. I've never seen a goalie to this day skate like he does. He's the best skater I've ever seen, right? But there's a reason why he's at the NHL level at 5'11". You have to be the best at something. Dustin Wolf is going to be interesting. Like I really like him a lot. I'm just interested to see like how he can further his career. Saros has proven like he can do it. And I think he's gotten a short leash because he's 5'11". But he's a guy like you can't pull that guy out of the net in practice. Like talking to Ben Vanderlock in Nashville, the goalie coach for them, he invited me on the ice a couple times and I said, how is Saros? He goes, I have to physically get him out of the net. Like he overworks, he overtrains, but there's a reason why he's at the NHL level. So I still think there is room for 5'11" goalies. Is there a lot of room? No, because just statistically wise, bigger goalies do better. So that's a tough number to argue. And if I was a head coach, it's a lot of trust in a 5'11" goalie. So I still definitely think if you're super athletic, if you do something really, really well, why not? If you get the opportunity, why not?
Talk about skating. Explain skating in goalie terms, because I feel like it's a much different prognosis than what you see. Like, oh, that guy can skate. Like, it's not Matt Anderson skating. It's much different.
Yeah, I think that's something that good scouts have is the eye for it, because it's sometimes not really telling. Edge work is huge. How they move laterally side to side, how they get back to their feet. Are they able to match the speed? Like there's so many different aspects with skating. All I did with the youth hockey was we did seriously the first 30 minutes of an hour session was all skating. And the kids, some of them loved it, some of them hated it, but the proof is in the pudding. The best players are the best skaters in the NHL. But I have a checklist. Like when I was scouting with the LA Kings last year, when I want to watch an NHL goalie, there's little checklist things that you're like, oh, okay, this guy does this a little bit better than this guy. And again, Saros was top on the list because he can do it all. That guy could probably could do a backflip in his gear. That's how good of a skater he is. It's unbelievable.
Good Lord. That's a good perspective, though. Thanks for asking that, Travis, because I've always wondered that, too. Now, what is your message, though, to younger players that want to be goalies? What's your message to those youth hockey kids as they try to figure their way out in the goalie life? Because it's easily one of the hardest positions to play.
Do it. Be kind to yourself, but be realistic with yourself. That's my big thing for those kids. I worked with kids that didn't care at all, that were really good. I worked with kids that took it too personally, that failed out. My biggest thing is you got to trust in yourself, trust in the process. It's a tough sport. You're lonely back there. Find people that care about you, and don't be afraid to reach out and talk about it. Talking through goaltending, I think, is so important. Parents would be like, let's do a video session. I'm like, no, let's actually just talk. How are you doing? Well, I feel like I'm not doing well. Okay, then we talk through that process. I don't think enough goalie coaches do that. You see the Instagram all the time of these crazy drills and this video that we offer and stuff like that. Well, that's all fun and that's great. And I think it's important, but how about you get to know the kid? How about you get to know how they are as a person? And most of the guys like Spencer Knight, I have a quick story about he was an unbelievable human being. I got to skate with him when I was 24 or 23 at the time. And Jared Wayman's I got a new guy to come skate with you. And Spencer was 15 at the time. And I was like, okay, perfect. So Spencer comes on the ice and immediately like, this kid's 15? And he put me to shame. And I went up to Jared after the session. And I was super competitive. And I said, never put me with that kid again. I was so embarrassed that this 15-year-old was so good. But he was the nicest human being. And I talked to Jared about like how he coached him. And he just like, I just talked to him. Like I just wanted to be there with his family and like get to know him as a person. And that really stuck with me. Like I think that youth hockey, you lose a lot of it with the video and the training. And it's got to be this. Like get to know the kid. And the rest will take care of itself. If he's got it, he's got it.
That's got to be surreal. Like 15 years old, and then he goes on to win gold, and now has a Stanley Cup ring. It's like,
whatever. He did a Zoom call with the kids this summer. I coached in Connecticut this summer, and he did a Zoom call, answer questions and stuff. And I'm just rolling my eyes in the background. Jared's laughing. I'm like, who is this guy? Who cares? I'll answer some questions.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Now, like, I feel like the days of a starter starting 65 games are gone. Like, obviously that's not a thing anymore, but like when you have a true starter, and I mean, like you've mentioned with Saros, you had to like pull him off the ice. Like, how do you like judge when to give him a break?
It's management talking to him. If you ask Saros, can you go? Oh yeah, I can go. Okay, can you really go? Because you just played 25 games in a row. Like it's like stuff like that you have to have that relationship and you have to have that trust between coach and goalie and, you know, goalie coach and head coach. And it's just the communication part of it of like, I think he does need a break, or he told me he needs a break. I think that's like the big aspect to judge on when they can go and when they can't go.
Do you think there's a
Oh, sorry. No, just
you're good.
Rarely ever will a head coach be like, no, he's going, if the guy's like, I'm not feeling it. Like I need a break. Like rarely ever you want to put a guy in that position. So
do you think there's a big adjustment period for goalies that are coming from overseas, you know, with the angles of the ice and, you know, the wider ice?
That's a great question. It depends on the guy. I think some of the European goalies are super athletic. Like Askarov, for instance, like you can't argue that. Like he's unbelievably athletic. Something you can't really teach. I don't care if you put him in an aquarium. I think he's going to stop a puck. So, like, I think it depends on the guy for sure. But, like, if you have the athletic ability, it shouldn't affect you too much.
When you have a young goaltender coming up to, like, a pro level, even the NHL, and then, like, do you think it's important to strategically start younger goaltenders? I mean, you've seen the instance with Minnesota and Dallas last year, what happened. And then, like, obviously Keiser gets thrown into the fire last week. Like, do you think it's important to strategically start younger goaltenders?
100%. And if that strategy is throwing like Keiser, for instance, in at that point, that's what the coaches think's best. I think there's a strategic ability for all of that, and I think it's important. I think it's super important. And we had a really good conversation after Keiser won his first NHL game, and it was just like proud of him. Like we wanted to see that out of him. We wanted to see that, you know, like it's not easy. Like it's a struggle. We wanted to see what we would do. And we couldn't be more proud of him. And like, again, he trusts the process. He trusts in us. And like, I think it's very important to have a strategy with younger goalies for sure. Throwing them into NHL is never easy.
Well, Ace, man, that's all we have for you for questions. Thank you so much for joining us on this. This was an absolute blast for us to get in the mindset of a goalie. Honestly, you know, we joke and say goalies are voodoo all the time, but you know, it's a tough one. Oh, what do you got there?
So I was the last ever practice goalie for the Thrashers. So when they sold Winnipeg, there was no goalies in Atlanta, so I got to be with them for 2 weeks. I have the last ever Thrasher practice jersey.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah,
that's sick.
So I had to show this to you. Yeah, so this is one of my coolest things that I own from my career. But like, it's got the holes in it and stuff. Like it's got a fight strap in the back of it still. Like it's a pretty cool jersey, but I wanted to give that shout out. Like I was so pumped that I was driving to the rink. I got the phone call like, hey, you're going to be the practice goalie for the Thrashers. I got a speeding ticket on the way to the rink. And the cop's like, what are you doing? I'm 18 at the time. I'm like, I'm going to go be the practice goalie for the Thrashers. He goes, oh my God, that's awesome. Here's your ticket. So yeah, I just wanted to give that quick shout out though to the Thrashers for sure.
That's incredible.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a one of a kind right there. Oh my gosh. Well, like I said, man, this was a blast, and we'll definitely have to have you back on and dive into some of these stories because I'm sure you've got a million of them. But it was good to get in that mind, to understand the mindset of how you approach goalie coaching, goalies themselves. We joke all the time and say goalies are voodoo, like they're so difficult to understand, but it's eye opening to understand it from your perspective more. And with what you bring to the table, it seems like Toledo's in very good hands, and future goalie prospects and current ones are in great hands. And absolute pleasure talking to you, man.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Again, we have to do this sometime soon. I got a ton of stories, and this has been a blast.
No, we'll definitely have you back on. So thank you again.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
There's nothing like the excitement of watching NHL hockey live and in person. The sounds of the puck hitting the boards, the players slamming guys up against the glass. There's truly nothing like it, and it's never been easier to save money on your tickets than now with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And welcome back to Just the Two of Us. Dude, what a guy. Like, I didn't know what to expect with this. Obviously, we've met him. You've talked to him a few times. I've only met him once at practice where we got to go down there. I didn't know what to expect, though, going into this. And that exceeded all expectations for me.
I think the funniest part when we were at practice, he's like, "Can I come on the show?" Yeah, I don't care.
And I'm really glad he said that now.
Well, and that too. And what else was funny about it is after the one game, he walked by me. I was like, "Hey, when you want to come on?" "Oh, here's my phone number." I'm like,
right.
Okay. Well, Elliot Friedman strikes again.
Yeah, we call Travis the Elliot Friedman of Toledo at this point because he's the guy with all the connections when it comes to helping us get interviews or anything done with this team. It's not my job. It's all Travis's work at this point. He does all the hard work. So thank you, Travis. And thank you to Ace, dude. That was, again, understanding goalies is one of the toughest things. They are a different breed when it comes to hockey players, but understanding the perspective that a goalie coach takes and approaches it like he does, it was just really eye-opening for me, and I learned a lot from it. I had a lot of takeaways from it, but I think my biggest takeaway overall is Toledo's goalies are in great hands. This dude knows how to coach not only a goalie, but a person, and I love his approach to it, like, in a leadership role in my day job. That's how I approach it. It's always the people. It's not the results. It's not the statistics. It's the people. And any coach that approaches it like that, which I feel like all the coaches in our organization do that and do a really good job of it, those coaches automatically jump up the list of great coaches for me just because they understand that you're a person first. Yes, you're a pro athlete, but you're a person first. And his approach is fantastic. And his stories, like, I don't think we scratched the surface of stories. I think he's definitely going to have to be a return guest because I think he's got a lot. Mr. Name Dropper over there. Holy smoke. So many good goalies that he's talked to or worked with or skated with. The Spencer Knight one cracked me up.
Yeah, I felt bad when I brought up the whole gold medal and then cup ring, but I felt like I had to. Like,
you have to.
And then he brings up Grossneck and brought up Vladar and brought in Spencer Knight, and it's like, man, he's worked with a lot of good goaltenders.
Yeah, he really has. And just like hearing how tight-knit the goalie coach community is and all these goalies he still talks to and these coaches he still talks to, like, what a world. Like, you and I are big goalie nerds, right? Like, and anybody else that probably enjoyed that interview is also a goalie nerd. But like, just knowing like who he talks to all the time and has access to, I'm like, that's so freaking cool from the fan perspective. But again, just a genuinely great dude.
Yeah, I mean, just a home run hire for the Walleye. I mean, great person from the little bit we've got to know him. I feel like that's becoming a trend with that team in that this organization. Like, great
everyone's just great person.
Like, you hear people say, "Oh, they're great people." No, they're good people. Like, it's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, and just so cool of him to want to come on, like, to ask us, can I come on? Like, yeah, you're always welcome, Ace. Like at this point, you're always welcome whenever you want to come on. But it's just a cool thing. So thank you again to him. What was I said my takeaway. What was yours?
I love the Atlanta stuff. Like talking to Atlanta. Like I know it's failed, but like, dude, it was so much fun getting to break out some Thrasher jerseys and hang them up. Like, I love that branding. That's like honestly some of my favorite branding of all time. That blue Thrashers jersey that's in that interview that I had hanging up is one of my favorite jerseys in my entire collection. This jersey right here is actually kind of pays homage to that blue Thrashers jersey with how it says Walleye down the side instead of Atlanta. Just all the Atlanta stuff for me. And the wild thing is how he was talking about going to that Thrashers game and his dad, like, when the guy pulled a gun on him. Like, that was like, clearly they need to figure out not to put that building wherever the Braves are at. I'm going to have to ask my buddy Austin, like, where the Braves are at, build the rink next to that place. Because he said that he said that the Braves did it right with putting it where they put it. So, I mean, that was probably the biggest thing of like, holy shit, like that actually happened. Like, but, that and just like, he didn't know what to expect with Toledo. And then he gets here and it's like, holy shit, like this is crazy.
Yeah, the NHL playoff environment every night. Like we've said it, we've had players say it, coaches are saying it. Like if you haven't made the trip down to Toledo yet, if you're one of the Griffins fans that tune into this, what's stopping you? Just go. It's affordable. It's a blast. Just do it, please.
It's $20. $20. Like 21 after fees. Like I was looking today about, maybe another trip, and like I looked into the Everblades tickets. $19 ticket, okay, is $1 cheaper than Toledo for face.
Yep.
For 2 tickets after fees, it was like $64 because they use Ticketmaster. And Ticketmaster shreds you on fees.
Don't get me started on them. That'll be a whole episode.
The Walleye, for literally like there's a $1 or $2 processing fee. Like you can't beat the price. Like you cannot do it.
For the experience, it's so worth it. So like we said, if you haven't gone down there yet, get down there to a game and then let us know in the comments what your experience was like. We always want to hear it because every single person that's gone based on our recommendation personally or even through the show always tells us afterwards. They're like, yeah, we're going back to another. And those are the same folks that'll travel to Kalamazoo to catch walleye games there and sit with the crazy walleye fans that make the trip up from Ohio. And it's such a fun environment. Like we can't say enough good things about how they do things down there. They do it right. So go. If you haven't and you're thinking about it, just pull the trigger and go. It's so worth it. It's an easy day trip if you want to stay overnight. There's great places to stay down there too, and there's so much to do, and there's great restaurants, and the food's fantastic. But honestly, if you're from Grand Rapids, it's an easy enough day trip, especially if you got a second person with you. I've done it solo enough times now. I can do it in my sleep almost at this point. But it's worth it, folks. Just do it. But again, thank you to Ace for that fantastic interview, and I can't wait to talk to him again. And I can't wait to hopefully hear more stories from Hawk about him, getting frustrated with a windmill save in practice and going bar down on the next goalie. Poor guy.
When he messaged me back, he's like, I was being nice and then Jan ruined it for everybody. I was dying.
Yeah, funny dudes. Again, everyone there is they're great people. But let's move on to talking about their games, right? So we had 3 games since we last talked about the Walleye, and a lot has happened in those games. So let's talk about the Wednesday game. It was another school day game, which the Walleye have a poor history with these school day games at this point. And this one could have gone differently, but I guess we got goalied.
I got 2 things to say about it, and then we'll move on. I've seen enough things online about how we suck in school day games. If you say that, you didn't watch the game. Like 43, it was like 41 or 42 shots to 23. Like they just got goalied. That's it. They should have won the game. Goalie played out of his mind. Let's move on to Friday.
All right, easy enough. So Friday's game, back against Iowa, still in Iowa here, in a completely different result, where the Walleye walk away from this one with a 6-3 victory over the Iowa Heartlanders. And shoot, what a game was this one. Walk me through it, because we had another hat trick.
Yeah, it's funny. They had a crazy amount of them last year, and they got to be close to on the same pace. Like,
I think so.
I think they had, like, I want to say it was 9. I'd have to look back, which is crazy to think about. It was a big number, and they've already had, I think, 3 this year. So it's like, it's like Hawkins had one, Craggs has had one, now Louie's got one. I mean, it was a Lewandowski show. Like, honestly, that line as a whole was, like, big. And you know what? Like, I had an individual reach out to me. I don't want to say names. He knows who he is. He's like, I think we have a new first line. I was like, slow your brakes. Like, I was like, pump the brakes. No, seriously though, it's just fun. Like, look, it's probably a first line on a lot of other teams. That Lewandowski, Craggs, Cruz line, they're playing unreal right now, and that's just a testament to the depth that the Toledo Walleye have. Like, you need depth if you want to be chasing cups, which is what this team's doing. Like, everybody knows it. I'll say it publicly. Like, Hawkins don't want to talk about it. Like, we've been there, but like the fans talk about it weekly. Like, look, nothing matters till April, nothing matters till May, nothing matters till June. You need depth. And if you have a second line putting up these kind of points right now, if you can get that kind of scoring that time of the year, good things are going to happen. I mean, Louie just had a night on Friday night. Just a great game. I don't know if you want to go through the scoring, but
yeah, I'll run through real quick because I've got it in front of me here. So Iowa did score first in this game, and then, like we said, it's the Louie show. He responds about 2 minutes later with his 4th of the season from Smerrick and Messina. Second period, 2 minutes in, Lewandowski gets his 5th of the season from Cruz and Redicop, getting another point there. Look at Chaz. A couple minutes later, Trenton Bliss gets his 11th of the season from Spezia and Smerrick on the power play. And then, still in the second period here, 16-minute mark, Lewandowski completes the hat trick there, gets his 6th of the season from Craggs and Cruz. Iowa does score again to kick off the third period, well, about 9 minutes into the third. Toledo responds immediately. Dornbach gets his 2nd of the season from Messina. Iowa gets one more in there about 2 minutes later, but Tyler Spezia gets the empty netter, gets his 13th of the season from Matt Anderson, and that wraps that up. Toledo was outshot in this game, 33-30, which I didn't think that was the stat when I first looked at it. I had to double check. But Jan Bednar stops 30 of 33, obviously. Power play goes 1 for 3. Penalty kill goes 4 for 4. Just a great showing in front of 1,400 fans in Iowa. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
It's a legit point. There's nobody ever goes. Toledo sells out Kids Day games, and they can't even sell out regular games.
Iowa's Kids Day game attendance was 1,386.
Whew.
Anyways, moving on past that, that was the scoring in that game. And again, Louie, that line, like you said, having that depth is so key. We've talked about it countless times in this show when talking about Toledo and Grand Rapids. When you can look at that roster and go, first line, second line, third line, could all be the first line. That's what you want, honestly. You want that depth. And you think about, you go even further into the Walleye lineup, and you have a guy like Griffin Ness performing like he is this year. That was unexpected. So you mix depth scoring with just complete depth. If you could have all 4 lines rolling, it's a recipe for a really good team that can go on and do really special things, especially with the goaltending that they have. I mean, we joke about it pretty much every game at this point. Jan's good for one that leaves you with a head scratcher, right? You're just like, what happened there? And then he makes 10 bell saves the rest of the freaking game and is absolutely outstanding. But
if you only have that one and you score 2, that's all that matters.
Exactly. And, even Ace talked about that. You don't dwell on that goal. You'll work on those things, obviously. They joke about it. Yeah. Like, and that when you have a team joking about that kind of stuff, the vibe in that room is something special. It really is. And there are some goalie coaches that would probably ream that goaltender for that bad goal. Like, I think of the one with the Griffins on Saturday night with Trent Miner going behind the net on a penalty kill, and it bounces out in front and leaves a wide open net for Cross Hannes. Like, I'm sure his goalie coach was furious, but I think at the same time, one of these guys makes that mistake, and it's probably like, hey, just don't do it again. But we're going to laugh at you for it at this point in time and move on. And, Bednar, he's being asked to do a lot right now, with the goalie situation in Grand Rapids and Detroit. Bedsy's played so many games as of recent, and you're going to have a bad one here and there, and that's fine. A bad goal, not a bad game. Bad goal let in, it's okay. If you can bounce back and make the saves that he is making, because Iowa had a lot of good chances in this game, and Bedsy stood on his head at a couple points in this game that really shocked me. So those are my takeaways from the Friday game, and if you have anything else to add, we'll move on to Saturday's game.
We're on the topic of Jan.
Yeah.
Last 9 starts, .927 save percentage.
Jesus.
On average. Like, if you take his save percentage in those 9 games, add them up, divide it by 9, he's at a .927 the last 9 games.
How many games in a row has he played?
I think 9. I think that's the number. Like, it is 9, actually. So, yeah.
Wow.
He's 9 straight starts, .927. And look, Pat's even said, like, look, I'm not afraid to go to this guy every night. Like, I think we all kind of know what's going on down there. Obviously, there'll be a little more stability now. There's 3 goalies down there. Listen, .927 is great goaltending.
It's fantastic, especially at a level like this where it's a high-scoring league. Let's be real.
Oh, yeah, and, like, here's his last 5. 958, 919, 955, 909, 963.
That's insane.
Those are insane numbers. He's playing really well. Like, you know, like, you see some stuff like, blah, blah, blah. He's struggling, blah, blah, blah. Struggling.
Where?
927. Or, like, you see the fans, like, that's a bad goal. Okay, yeah, could be. So what? Like, if you give up 1 week, 1 a night, but you're posting a 927 and you're winning most of these games, like, you're going to take the wins. It don't matter. Like, 100%. I'm just glad.
Wins, losses are not a goalie stat. I've said it 3 times tonight in different recordings.
Well, I just look at it. I'm happy for the person. Like, we talk about how Ace is like, look, I coach the person. I'm happy for the person, but I'm also happy for the player. Like, he's clearly starting to find a rhythm at this level that, like, he was a 4th round draft pick for a reason. Posting a 927, I mean, in 9 straight starts. Think about that. Like,
it's insane.
Not many goalies are starting 9 straight games anymore. Like, that's a lot
you mix
of
that,
hockey.
Mix that with Gylander's really good. You've got a 1-2 punch in net that is just, it's got to be the top tandem in the ECHL by the end of the season. I have a feeling it feels like we're talking about the year of John Letherman and Sebastian Kosa when they both hit their stride and we're like, this tandem is ridiculous. It feels like that now with 2 really young goaltenders. Like, John's not old per se, but at the same time, like, these are really young prospects in the system.
Yeah, and, you know, so, like, if you look at this, right, his first year with Toledo, he played 3 games, had a .301 goals against average, .901. Last year's regular season, 36 games played, .266 goals against average, .901 save percentage. Then in the playoffs, he posted .237, .917 in 5 games. Through 17 games, he's posted a .235 and a .910. Let me flip over here. I'm pretty sure .910. I think Kosa finished with a .912.
I think you're right.
So, like, it's probably, people are probably like, how does this dude remember that? The amount of
because we're psychopaths.
The amount of useless knowledge that's in my brain is just sickening. 913. So, you know, I'm just saying, like, listen, he's playing at a really good level right now. You're getting a lot of really good. Honestly, I didn't even know that he was posting a 927 until I just ran the numbers. I pulled up his stats and I'm like, wow, he's played really well in the last, like, ever since, like, he went on this run of starting every game, which is now at 9 straight. And it's just like, man, is he playing well. I'm just so happy for him.
Yeah, and, you know, for me on the fan side, when I think about Grand Rapids too, like, it's pretty obvious that we're not going to have Sebastian Kosa for much longer, if at all, next season, right? So I'm sitting here going, look at what Jan is doing right now to jam his foot in the door in Grand Rapids and be like, yep, I'm next, I'm coming. And that same goalie train from Toledo just keeps a rolling. And I mean, we've already seen Gylander come up to the American League and play good games. He's rough ones, but good games mixed in there too. Jan hasn't really gotten that shot at the American League yet, and I think we're going to see it sooner than later.
I think you definitely could. I mean, he's already earned one call up this year. What's to say he can't earn another? Like, Detroit's got a goalie in and out with injuries right now. Like, all it takes is, like, if Talbot can't figure it out and he's injured for a little bit here, Lyon's been nicked up twice now. So you then have 2 Griffin guys in Detroit. All it takes is one injury in GR and Gylander or Bednar's going up. Like,
yeah.
And with
and
the
at this
way
point, you
Bednar,
think Bedsy's going to get it. Like,
well,
no, it's no slam at Carter. Carter's obviously gotten his fair share of call-ups this season and games, but you just think the organization's going to go, Bedsy, show us what you got.
I mean,
strategically.
Well, I mean, you never, again, back to the whole you never know. I mean,
it's true.
He's earning that chance. Like, why not?
Yeah.
But
I like it.
I'm just happy for him. I mean, like,
yeah,
you know, he seems like a really nice guy. I haven't really got to talk to him. Ace thinks the world of him, thinks the world of all them goaltenders, really. But, I mean, you just got to love what you're getting out of him right now. I mean, Christ, a 927, that's elite level goaltending. In any league, to post that kind of number, you're in the top tier of the league, I bet.
Yeah, 100%. Well, to get back on the tangent of recapping the game, sorry, that Jan Bednar segment was definitely needed because he deserves it, clearly. But let's talk about the game on Saturday.
I want to point out one other thing from Friday's game. Casey Dornbach gets a goal in his old building against Iowa. Just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, that is always fun to see a play. The Walleye have some guys that like to do that this season. Chaz and Dornbach so far. I love it. Have we seen Jalen's return to Cincinnati yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, buddy. I'm a betting man. I'm putting money down on that one that night. Anyways, moving on to Saturday's game. Another just weird game, right? Like a 2-1 win over Bloomington in front of 2,800 fans. So credit Bloomington. They pulled in more than Iowa. Good job to them. On a teddy bear toss night too, which we love the thing, but holy crap, I feel like we're seeing so many of these games with Toledo this season. Like Grand Rapids has played in a couple of them now, but I feel like Toledo's played in like 5 or 6 at this point. It's crazy. And going into the third period here, it looked like Bedsy was going to achieve the goalie's dream of shutting out the other team on a teddy bear toss night. And God, we talked about it. Sorry, we brought it up during the game. It's our fault. But just to recap the scoring in this one, and I'll let you break down the game for me. 8 minutes, 29 seconds into the first, McCallion gets his second of the season, and then no scoring in the second period at all from either team. 8 minutes into the third, Grant Gabriel gets his third of the season from Griffin Ness and Dalton Messina. And then Bloomington scores their teddy bear goal at 14:50 in the third to make it a tighter game. But again, just another great game from Bednar here. He stops 26 of 27 shots in this game. Walleye do get outshot by 1 in this game, 27-26. Power play goes 0 for 2. Penalty kill goes 1 for 1. Just overall thoughts on this game.
I feel like not a lot happened.
It really didn't. No.
And, part of it is because we were doing we had me, you, and Heather were on like the group call. You were streaming the Griffins game. I'm down here rearranging the room. It was just like a lot of chaos. But the only thing I can really sum up with this is it was the night of the bounce.
The bounce.
McCallion lets one fly from the point, bounces a couple feet in front of the goalie, goes in. Hits the ice, goes in, bounce, And then the goal, like we mentioned with Bednar, it lands, bounces, and we were just like, what just happened? Oh no, this is not good. But you know what? It happens.
It does, and it's okay.
Listen, if Nick Lidstrom watched this game, he's smiling because of the goal he scored against, was it Pecorine? I think it was against Asheville.
Yeah.
The one where he launched it from the other side of center and it bounced in front of the goalie. I mean, you see these weird ones every now and then, and it just happens. It's part of hockey.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, and I'm glad that, like we had said earlier with Bednar, like that they had a good laugh about it. And like, like they can have a laugh about that, and then he windmills Hawkins and in practice.
Right.
Like,
yeah, the vibes are still good.
Yeah, you can tell that it doesn't affect him, and I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, it's just good to see that the Gabriel goal, him coming in on a pinch like that, just a net front drive from a defenseman, like, and then he just buries that. Like, want to talk to that guy at some point in this season, and like, it's a defenseman, doesn't score a ton of goals. So it's just it was good to see him get on the board. Again, depth scoring, 2 defensemen scoring your 2 goals tonight in this game. Well, not tonight, but in this game. I think that just, again, goes to the credit of how much depth this organization has.
It really does. And there is some credit I actually want to give to Bloomington here. Brand new team in the ECHL, really a team full of guys trying to find their way through the league with each other here. And it feels like every time the Walleye play them, they're a little bit better each time. They continue to improve, especially defensively. So I do want to give them some credit here. They played a good game overall. They're still lacking on the scoring side of things. And are they near the top of the division? No, they're 5th in the division out of 7 right now, since he's holding down that bottom spot really strong. But at the same time, like, to be a new team, it's not like there's an expansion draft or anything like that. You're building a team almost out of nothing. And to see improvement through them getting better and better, it's a cool thing to see. So I will give them a little bit of credit there. They can keep losing to us all the time they want them. I like that. But at the same time, it's cool to see. In this division, it's tight, man. It's a weird division this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually said this to you when we were talking during the game. I was like, dude, could you imagine if Wheeling was still in this division?
Dude, they're on a tear right now.
Like, the Central would be a juggernaut, and then there's everybody else, I feel like if Wheeling is still in the division. But, I mean, it's tight. I mean, that's fun, though. That makes for fun games when these, you have a tight race and points are on the line. Like, you kind of get that, like, playoff atmosphere, big games in the season. Like, you get them earlier in the year. I mean, I think it's going to come down to Toledo and Fort Wayne. I really do. I kind of said that to you at the beginning of the year. Like, dude, Fort Wayne's tough. Like, they are going to be tough. And
Iowa's gotten significantly better this year, though, too.
Iowa's playing really well. If they
Indy's still in the talks. They're only 6 points behind Iowa right now. Iowa and Fort Wayne are tied. Walleye still have the nice lead on the division by 6 points there.
And Indy just broke in their new building, which looks really nice.
It looks really nice. Like, credit to them. They needed that. I know their old one was falling apart around them, it kind of looked like. So this is cool to see them get that new upgrade there. It looks beautiful. I want to go to a Walleye game down there. Hopefully I can make the trip down at some point. But it's going to be a fun division to watch this year. I don't know what I enjoy more, watching it be a tight race to where the games are going to be fun, or just kind of watching the fall of Cincinnati happen in real time. I don't know which one's more fun.
Who threw them who attached a boat anchor to that team and threw them out in the Ohio River? Like,
for those that don't understand the reference, they have 21 games, 3 wins, 15 regulation losses, 3 overtime losses for 9 points. Kalamazoo is ahead of them in the division right there at 17 points.
And since he traded half their roster today.
Since he hasn't even cracked double-digit points on the season, man. Like,
that's tough, man. You're so used to them being a great team. I've had this conversation with a few fans, I think we were onto something. Like, you even said it, like, I think it's going to be different this year with Toronto. Like, I think they were expecting more from Toronto and didn't get it. And they had to scramble, and the scramble just hasn't worked out for them. Like, Smerrick has to be just so thankful that he chose to come here, not stay in Cincy. Love that dude. He's such a great guy. Now, I think he finally recognized who the hell I was at that one game, but it's hard. You feel for that. I mean, they've been like a steady organization, and just to have a downfall like this is just crazy.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this that I can remember in recent memory here. So
it does make it fun, though. Like, I feel like this year, you're starting to see other teams in the race, like that you maybe don't see. Like Iowa's in the race. They haven't really been relevant at all since they've joined the team, like the league. So to see them in the race is fun. Obviously, going to Toledo every night, it's just you almost know, like, okay, we know what the Walleye are going to provide. It's just fun to start seeing some of this. Like the division's fun. Like last year, they got out to such a huge lead that like it was really never in question. Like you just kind of knew. Like this year, it's like it's tight. When Fort Wayne comes to town, it's going to be a battle. Like when Iowa comes to town, it's going to be a battle now. Like I just think it's having a tighter division. I think is going to help this team more than being like, hey, look at this. We're like 15 points clear of the playoffs, 10 clear of first place. Like I think that it provides them with a little more of like, we got to keep winning. Like,
it's motivation.
Keep the foot on the gas. And like, some like we were talking earlier, like, okay, the second line's going, maybe the first line's not putting up the superb numbers that everybody like expected, but like the big guns will be like the big guns will be ready to roll, and they're not gonna just like this. It's fine. Everybody chill. The big guns will be rolling here before long. I'm not like I've seen a couple of things where it's like, this and this. It's like you guys are worrying about things that like there's nothing to worry about here. Like,
well, should we address one of them?
Which is what?
Just because I want to pick on him because I know he listens and I like to get him riled up. Hawk, 9 games without a goal, buddy. What's going on? Still over a point per game pace. So if you're wondering or worried, settle down. He's fine. But
I will never say a bad thing about that person. He is such a good friend. I love that dude. I mean, listen, like if you're worried about this guy, don't be worried about him. Like, he's
28 points in 25 games. He's fine. He's fine.
People need to chill. Like, too good of a friend of the show. Like, I mean, listen.
Oh, he's a friend of the show. That's why I'll chirp him on it. And I hope I hear something about it. So just so he knows. But anyways, man.
I mean, I don't worry about it. Like he told us, like, look, MVP is extension of the team. Like, I can guarantee you, every person in that locker room would rather win a cup than get personal accolades. And
100%.
I bet you he still scores 40 goals this year. Pushes for 90-ish points, 100 points. Like, he's going to get, like, okay, so maybe he's not, like, scoring at a rapid rate right now. But then he's going to just go off for like 15 points in 5 games and just shove it down to somebody's
He's going to get a hat trick in the next game, and I'm going to get a DM that says, suck it. So it happens. It happens. But no, again, no worries.
No, geez. Come on, guys. No. Like,
what I do
one of the
love,
most elite talents in the league.
Easily the most elite talent in the league. What I do love, though, when I look at the stats across the board right now, at least for the Walleye forwards, your top 6 point scorers in the team are in order of your first line or what the Hanson's line and the other line. Like, that's a great thing. That's so much depth right there in the scoring category. You have to be happy with it either way, whether it's Hawk scoring or Louis scoring or Cruz scoring. It doesn't matter. Whoever scores, as long as they're scoring. It doesn't matter.
I wish Louis went to BG. Like, that could have been the Falcon line. We could have had the Falcons and the Hansons. Like, I mean, it's just, it's all fun. Like, and it was funny, too. Listen to the game the other night. Like, you had a Hansons reference.
That was funny.
Iowa's really guys funny. Dropping the Hansons name. I'm like, man, Hawk, you called it. It just made me laugh. Like, I love that dude. He's like, oh, it just cracks me up. Like, and he was like, boom, like that. Hanson's. I'm like, how in the hell did I not think of that?
Oh, yeah. He had that one stewing for a minute there. But, man, outside of that, I've got nothing else to add. I think this is a long enough episode. It's a longer one than most of our Toledo ones, just because we had such a fantastic interview to do in this one. So I've got nothing else to add. What does their upcoming schedule look like before we sign off here?
Home and home with Wheeling this week, off on Sunday. So the boys get a little rest.
They could use that, but also home and home against the red hot Wheeling Nailers. That's going to be an interesting watch.
Boy, I'll tell you what. I'm excited. 2 games against that team this is like you kind of set that like we're here, they're here. Like it's that collision of 2 really good teams right now. Like you're chirping Hawk, and Hawk's gonna make you eat words this weekend. I just got a feeling like
every single time I chirp a player on this podcast, I get shut up literally the next game. So
he's gonna go out. I'm calling it now. He's going to have 15 shots on Saturday, probably 3 goals and 3 assists, and he's just going to send you a DM of pure hate.
If it drives results, I'll welcome it always. Oh, all right. Well, that's a good place to end this one. Thank you all for tuning in, as always. And, of course, we got to thank our sponsors of the show, DraftKings and Game Time, and, of course, the Hockey Podcast Network for being fantastic partners with us. And, of course, the long-standing sponsor of the show, Everything Hockey Clothing Company. Make sure you head over to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST, save a few bucks off your order, and support the show at the same time. We appreciate all that have used the code already. We hope you enjoy the products you're getting from them. They make some sweet stuff. But, of course, without all the sponsors, on top of that, our Patreon subscribers are what make this show possible. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do half the stuff we want to do. And those subscribers currently are John in Florida, Elaine, Grace, Griffin, Randy, Derek, Lori, Allen, and Michael. Thank you all. If you want to join them, head over to patreon.com/Hockeytown West podcast. Check out the tiers and see what we have to offer you. And if you do join us, thank you. And if you already have, as always, guys, thank you. We appreciate it. With that, we'll wrap this one up. We will talk to you guys again soon. But until then, go Griffins, go Walleye. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.